The thing I like the most is just it's a constant learning. I was speaking to one of my students this morning, about how it's just a never-ending learning process. And even if you've had 200 fights, there's always something that you can get better at. So just that never-ending learning and bettering yourself.
Welcome back, everyone, to Fighters of Perth, the show where we aim to get to know our fighters here a little bit better, get to know their story, and hopefully make a new friend along the way. My guest with me today is Matt Deisel. Deisel, thank you for coming on down.
Thank you very much for having us.
My pleasure, man. Matt over here has had 18 fights, had a few shots at the title as well. Recently, the most recent fight as well, was that for a title shot?
No, that wasn't. No, that was just a fight for the fun of fighting.
Just for the fun of fighting, right? The reason we do it in the first place.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So, Matt, just share with us kind of like how you got started in Muay Thai, how you found it, how you heard about it, and kind of your story of how you went from doing it more casually to competing.
Okay. So I think I first got into Muay Thai. I went and watched a show. I can't remember what show it was, but I think it was Domination in Rockingham at the basketball courts. And that was where I fell in love with Muay Thai, but I didn't start it for a long time after that. But I remember watching this show at Rockingham, and it was amazing. And I thought, I'd love this sport, but I didn't start it until I was quite late in life. I started when I was 24. And it was at a place called Coastal Athletics in Rockingham as well.
Right.
Sort of a dodgy little gym in a squash courts. And then I took a big break after that, and then I started training at Bailey's, which is now Pursuit. We've come together as Pursuit. But yeah, started out at Coastal Athletics when I was 24.
Yeah, wow. So it's a little bit later than most people, but obviously that hasn't slowed you down or stopped you or anything.
Nah, not quite yet anyway.
Yeah. Still feeling good? Feel like you still got another 10, 20 fights, 30 fights under your belt?
Someone's going to have to tell me to stop.
Yeah, feeling good. So recently you had a fight, as I mentioned before. Obviously didn't go your way, didn't go your decision, but you expressed in your post about it that you felt like you had done enough to win. Just tell us a little bit more about that. Like, was it like could have gone either way, or did you feel like it was fairly clear that you'd won that fight?
In the moment, I felt like I'd clearly won it. I watched it back a couple of times, as I think most fighters do. You watch your fight back a million times afterwards. And after watching it back, I still thought that I'd clearly won it. But I think going to another state and fighting one of their guys you have to be really clearly and dominantly winning.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought I'd won that fight, but you take the good with the bad, and
yeah. And I think you're right with as much as we don't like to be biased, I think we as in WA have been guilty of it. It happens everywhere, right? Like there's always that slight bias towards your guy. So you have to give them 8 counts. You have to drop. It has to be so clearly in your favor to win that fight by decision.
Yeah, definitely. But it's one of those losses, it's a weird thing to say, one of those losses I'm proud of, I was proud of how I fought, and leading into that fight, I hadn't been fighting the way that I wanted to fight, and I hadn't been fighting my best, so even though I lost that fight, I was really proud of my performance, so like I said, take the good with the bad, there was a lot of good in that loss, which is a funny thing to say, but... Yeah.
When you said leading into that fight, you weren't fighting like the way you want, you mean leading with previous fights, or you mean in that fight itself?
No, my previous fights leading up to that, I hadn't been fighting... I feel myself, and I'd had a few bad losses, so I lost the fight previous to that, and then the year before that I'd got my first 2 ever stoppages against me, so I got TKO'd and I got knocked out, so I sort of was just trying to change my style and fight how I know I can fight, and in that fight, even though I lost, I feel like I fought more like myself, so I was proud of that.
And was that mainly to do with the stylistic changes you made?
A little bit, yeah. So Adam, my coach Adam Bailey, he was talking about changing the style, because I'm normally a very aggressive fighter, and I've been taking a lot of damage, as I said, in the last or the year prior to that. So we're working a bit more like a Muay Thai style.
Yeah, very technical.
Not just going forwards and fighting a bit more smart instead of aggressive. And so I was able to pull that off in this fight, not take any damage.
Really?
Yeah.
So it's pretty strange that you lost if you didn't take damage.
Yeah,
we won't go too much into that then. Yeah,
it happens.
Yeah. How would you describe, for someone who has never stepped foot in a ring, right? Maybe they're training Muay Thai or whatever, but how would you describe the feeling of once you're in there, the sensory feelings, the smell, everything? How would you best describe it to someone who's never been there, what it's like?
It's almost like a dream, I feel like. I think especially with the traditions and stuff surrounding sealing the ring, when you're in there, it almost feels like you shut off the complete outside world when you seal the ring, for myself anyway. But when you're in there, it's funny you say the sensory stuff, because you can smell the tire oil. Sometimes there's blood in the ring, you can smell the blood, or you can
see the splatters on the ground. You're like, whoa, there's been a few wars in here.
Yeah, and it becomes very real, doesn't it?
Yeah, very real.
But yeah, it's almost like a dream when you get in there, which is I think it's a good thing.
Yeah. Did you ever feel, for me, maybe because like when we were training, we never had an elevated ring. So the first time you go into an elevated ring, the way the floor feels, it's all like just different. Yeah, were you training in an elevated style ring before you started fighting?
Yeah, we always had an elevated ring, but not to that height. I started training at Bailey's in Baldivis, and our ring was a little bit off the floor, but not like that with the big shining lights and really high up with everyone watching you. But yeah.
Did you notice, like, did that feel strange the first time?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Not strange, just a bit scarier, I suppose. Yeah.
Makes it a little bit more real, as like you've said. Yeah.
Definitely. But once I seal the ring, everything sort of, closes off from the outside world anyway.
Yeah. I generally find like all the nerves is like leading into it, and then once that first round, it's now you're just doing it.
Yeah,
you're not thinking about it anymore.
Yeah.
When you're fighting, would you describe yourself as someone that's more analytical? Like, are you thinking when you're in there? Some people are like, when we're like chess players, like they're analyzing what you're doing, they're trying to set things up, or you just kind of more like empty mind, just reacting, flowing, and just seeing what's ever coming towards you and just going with it.
I think it's more so reacting. I saw your the podcast here with Toby as well, and he was saying everything's like reactionary. Hey, so I feel like what he said was a really good way of explaining it, and everything's just reactionary, and the more that you drill something, the more it just sort of happens. So definitely thinking as well, but I think most of what's happening is just reactionary.
Yeah.
And going with the flow.
Yeah. You've had 2 fights with Nathan, right?
Yeah. Some of my favourite fights, actually. Yeah.
And they're just really cool. And like, as you said, like you're happy, like you want to do that third, because I know some people don't want to fight him because of like their choice with his style. So like how have those fights been, and what was different with the fight that you won versus the fight that you lost? Like, just tell me the whole Nathan experience.
It's an experience, that's for sure.
Yeah, just that pressure, man.
Yeah, he's got a lot of pressure. The first time I fought him, I think he probably wasn't at his best, or he hadn't come into his own style. And I feel like I won that first one pretty convincingly, but it wasn't an easy fight, I tell you that. It was one of the hardest fights I've ever had, cardio-wise. But I won the first one, and that was probably my favourite fight ever. It was after COVID had passed, and it was the first show that we were allowed to have shows again in WA. And they packed out the Serbian club.
I remember that.
It was wild. They had to get the bouncers to spread the crowd out so the fighters could get through. There was about 30 fights on the card, and it was just an amazing fight show. So that was the first time I fought Nathan, and one of the hardest fights that I've had. Very enjoyable fight. And then I fought him for a state title in February, maybe a year later. And that was one of those fights as well that I thought that I'd won. It was a split decision, but it was a really close, hard fight, and he'd come more into his own style by that time, and so it was an even harder fight. And I think we both took a lot of damage in that fight, and he cut me. I think that's what got him across the line. He cut me, and there was a lot of blood. But again, very enjoyable fight. Even though I lost, it was a really enjoyable fight, and I'd love to get the third, the decider at some point. But timing's got to be right on that one, I suppose.
Yeah. Is there anything you're waiting for in particular or wanting to do first?
Just sort of get comfortable back. Like I said, trying to get back to fighting how I know I could fight. The couple of fights I had last year, I felt like I wasn't at my best. And fighting someone like Nathan, you definitely got to be at your best.
Yeah, for sure.
So, getting back to where I want to be now, which feels good. But just would like to get a couple wins under my belt. I've had a bit of a rough streak over the last year and a bit.
It's hard to get out of that place as well, you know?
Yeah, it is, I feel like I'm on the right track at the moment after that last fight. Even though it being a loss, I feel like I'm getting back to how I know I can fight, which is good.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. And not that this is a call-out, but who do you think is kind of next in line in the division for you?
Oh, that's a really good question. There's a few people I'd like to fight. Maybe not next in line, but I just like watching people
coming
fight.
up soon, hopefully. Anyone that you'd like to fight in the foreseeable future?
There's a lot of people I'd like to fight. I'd love to rematch Nathan. I'd love to rematch Liam. He was my last loss prior to the one before that.
Young kid.
And we fought, and I got really sick the day of, so I didn't fight at my best then. But we're sort of different weight classes. I think we sort of met in the middle, so I'm not sure if that fight would happen again. He's a bit lighter than I am. But there's a lot of people over east and here. That 61 to 62 division is quite busy at the moment, all over. So there's a lot of people. We had his name, Connor Goodman, fought on Rebellion. He won the 8-man, and he was the same at 61, and he fought the bloke that I just fought. And I like his style. I'd like to fight him perhaps. There's a few people over east. I can't remember their names at the moment, but there's a lot of people I'd like to fight.
There's a few people.
60. Yeah.
That's awesome, man.
It's very busy at the moment, Muay Thai, isn't it? So you watch all these fights, you go, I'd like to fight that guy. Or,
yeah, and especially if you're like, you think that your styles will make a good, entertaining
that's
fight.
exactly right, yeah. Some people you don't sort of mash with very well.
Yeah.
Stylistically, like you said,
Yeah. How would you best? Oh, yes, you already have, right? You said you got a very aggressive style, but now you're changing over to more of like a. I don't know if I'm saying right. The Muay Thai.
Yeah, I wouldn't describe myself. I'm not the smartest fighter. Probably wouldn't say Muay Thai, but being smarter,
right?
And not just forwards and being aggressive. I suppose I'm more like a Muay mat.
Hands, kicks, yeah.
But I'd like to be a bit more Thai style anyway. Yeah.
If you could go train in Thailand, is there a gym that you'd love to go train at? That I guess obviously Sitmon Chai is more well known for that kind of style, but I guess maybe you'd want to do something else. So yeah, is there any gyms that you specifically would like to go train at if you ever go train in Thailand?
Well, our gyms have got Pursuit. I should say our gym's Pursuit. They've got like sister clubs, so all our Thai trainers have come from Eagle Muay Thai, which is in Pursuit.
Yeah.
And one of my favourite fighters is training out of there. His name's Upperwat, and he fights on Max Muay Thai. I'd love to get some training in with him because he's about my weight as well, and I really like his style. That's in Phuket, but also SMG, who's a part of Pursuit now over here, or Songmorakot, is in Bangkok in Thailand as well, and that's where Adam Bailey, our owner, that's where he used to train out of as well, and I think that's some real proper Thai style training. So I'd love to get over to Bangkok and
learn from
Songmorakot as well, because that would be really good. But yeah, either of those two gyms, probably Eagle Muay Thai in Phuket or Songmorakot in Bangkok would be great.
Yeah. The guys from Eagle Muay Thai, like, is that club more well-rounded or are they more specialist? Like, obviously, F8 group's more known for their clinching. Yeah. Like, what are they like?
I haven't been there myself. That's where Jaden Mills has just gotten back from.
Yeah.
So he'd spent 3 months there. And I'm not really sure because I haven't spent much time there what their sort of specialty would be. But I know all their trainers. So Duk or Kumsab, that's where he used to train. Mod, he's my trainer. And Tarawa, all of them, they've all come from Eagle Muay Thai, and they're all amazing fighters. So.
Yeah, all technical, obviously, all great. Like, maybe I guess from our point of view, like, they're kind of good at everything, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So it's hard to say, well, because I've seen them fight, and I wouldn't be like, oh, they're clinch fighters or this. They just seem to be well-rounded and everything.
Yeah, definitely,
Yeah. Now, what's your day job, man? What do you do other than kick butt?
Oh, well, I spent most of my life doing warehousing, which was super boring and sort of like a dead-end job. But recently, Adam offered me a job at Pursuit, coaching full-time. So I coach full-time down at the Pursuit in Bibra Lake.
Yeah.
And that's just been amazing. So that's my day job at the moment, just 100% Muay Thai, just training,
all day,
fighting,
that's so good.
And coaching. And it's been, one of the best experiences of my life. I love everything Muay Thai, so it's been really, really good to be able to do that as a living as well.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. And obviously having the same kind of work, it's even when you have a bad day or a day that you're tired, it's still better than anything else. Yeah, especially warehouse work.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So it can still be quite hard on the body, holding pads and getting
being a human punching
ready.
bag.
But yeah, it's exactly right. But yeah, like you said, a bad day in Muay Thai is better than
a good day at the warehouse.
Exactly right.
Yeah. Well, you being a coach, right? But also you're still an active fighter. How are you finding the balance between both? Obviously you can't train during the classes you're teaching, so how are you getting your training and what are you doing there?
I'm very blessed being with Pursuit because we have so many different clubs and we got, like I said, we got a Thai at every gym and a lot of us are in fight camp at the same time. So I'm very blessed and spoiled to be able to train with the looks of Kumsab or Duk. And Tarawa, I can go and hold pads with Tarawa or my trainer Mod or Adam Bailey as well. Adam's a fountain of knowledge, and I get to train with him outside of the class times, and Duke or whoever, because so Duke's been in fight camp training for his world title defense just recently, and I was in fight camp leading up to that. So we get together outside of the class times and we get to train together, which is
that's so good, man.
Really spoiled, but yeah, very blessed to have all that experience under the same gym, under the same banner.
Yeah.
So it's been a bit difficult the transition over, because I used to train at my old club. We'd train 3 hours a night, every night, proper Thai style with mod, and then going from that to trying to fit your training in elsewhere.
You got to break it up. You can't do it in one big session. You probably got to do some like maybe earlier in the day and then a little bit later in the day.
Yeah, that's right. And get your cardio done at some crazy hour or something like that. But yeah, it's the balancing act's worked out well. I've had I think I've had 4 or 5 fights since being a coach, and it's worked out well.
Yeah.
The training aspect anyway.
Yeah. Have you found that since being a coach, you've actually found yourself getting more technical and even better in some sense?
Yeah, my trainer, Mod, he explained that, and he said you'll find yourself learning more from teaching, which is a funny thing to say, but yeah, when you're coaching or picking people up on their technique, you sort of realise the things that you might be doing, or you notice little things here and there. So yeah, I think it's definitely been beneficial for myself as well through coaching. Yeah.
What do you like the most about Muay Thai, training Muay Thai, or even coaching Muay Thai? And what's something that you dislike the most?
Dislike the most?
If there is anything.
Yeah, that's a tough one. The thing I like the most is just it's a constant learning. I was speaking to one of my students this morning, about how it's just a never-ending learning process. And even if you've had 200 fights, there's always something that you can get better at. So just that never-ending learning and bettering yourself through martial arts, but Muay Thai specifically. But just how it's never ending. You can clinch for 40 minutes every night, and you can still learn something new every day. So I really like that it's just never ending, and you will always learn through Muay Thai. The thing I probably would say I don't like the most is weight classes. I happen to be having to be on weight, or being as a small man myself, a shorter guy. It's that's probably the worst thing, is having to control your diet. Or one of the hardest things. But there's not much I don't like about Muay Thai. But if anything, probably that.
One of them. And being the shorter guy, like in MMA, it's like being shorter, if you're more of a wrestler, it's okay. But like into striking style, like range is an advantage, especially if you know how to use it.
Yeah.
And your last opponent was quite a bit taller than you.
Yeah, that was at 61. I hadn't seen him in person. I'd seen photos. I was trying to figure out how tall he was, because he used to fight at 58 as well. I was like, he can't be that tall. And I got there and he was a beanstalk.
Yeah. But you're probably used to that, like having to deal with taller people anyway. But it can make it a bit difficult. So you probably want to keep your weight as low as possible.
Yeah, for sure.
Because then if you get heavier, then you're going to have to fight even taller guys. So it's not a good time. So you say that's an aspect you don't like. You don't like having to control your diet. You'd like to be a bit more free with your food.
Not controlling the diet, but having to like the weight cut itself. So
okay.
I was having a discussion with Jaden and Adam about it not that long ago, and about how everybody cuts weight. But if we didn't all cut weight,
it would be, oh my gosh.
You know what? There's always going to be that advantage, and so we all do the exact same thing. But having to do the weight cut, and
the weight cut
to
itself,
be as lean as you can be, and when you could just be fighting at your walk around weight, that's just one thing that's not optimal. But
Yeah. So it was a weight cut. Yeah, that makes sense. And it's funny you say that, because I've said the same thing. Like, in a perfect world, no one would cut weight, but the moment someone does it, then they have an advantage. So then everyone's going to do it.
Advantage as well.
Yeah. So would you ever consider, or have you already considered, like after maybe Muay Thai, trying like going down to like another combat sport, boxing, MMA? Is that something that you have your eyes set on, or?
I would love to do jiu-jitsu just because it's something that interests me. I don't think I would compete in it, but I've spoken to other people, and I just love the culture that's behind a lot of martial arts as well. So Muay Thai, a lot of culture, and there's a lot to learn there, and I feel like there's a lot of life lessons in Muay Thai because of the culture that's behind it, and I think the same with BJJ. Excuse me, there's a lot of culture there, so I would like to do BJJ for that reason.
Yeah. So it's more than just the efficacy. It's like obviously the practicality of BJJ. It's more the fact that it has that culture. Because obviously there's lots of martial arts that have the culture. So what is it about BJJ? Is there anything about BJJ other than the culture, or?
It's practicality as well.
Yeah.
I think it's one of those things that would just be good to know if you ever did get into any trouble. It'd be great to be able to defend yourself without having to be able to strike somebody.
Yeah. You're right, man.
Yeah,
You're
sorry,
struggling, man.
Bit dry.
That's all right. And I think that's such a good point. Like, and that's something that always like bothered me. Is like you can be a world level striker. Like you can be a Sancho, you can be a Toby Smith, you can be these guys, and then some blue belts or purple belt jiu-jitsu takes you down and has their way with you. I mean, they can get past your striking hypothetically, right? Yeah. So I never liked the idea of that I can be so good in one area and then have nothing in another area.
Definitely.
So like that's what I always tell everyone. Even if you're a striker, just get to like a basic grappling understanding, and vice versa. If you're a grappler, get more of a striking thing.
I've been down to a MMA gym once before to get some sparring in with a MMA fighter.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
It's all right.
And we did 5 rounds of just striking, and I had it all over him. And then as soon as we introduced wrestling, I didn't have anything. And anytime he wanted me on the ground, I was on the ground. And I thought, I need to learn this because my striking didn't mean anything.
Just completely useless after once you get into that situation.
Yeah.
How did you find striking with the MMA guy? Because, you know, generally they'll move a lot more. Muay Thai is obviously more kind of stationary in front of the person. Did you find that a bit frustrating, or was his style a bit more, I guess, more traditional when you were striking?
When we were just striking, it was more like just Muay Thai. So that worked out well. But as soon as we...
Guys, I think we need a doctor. Like, is that... What's going on?
Talking too much.
Yeah.
As soon as we introduced the wrestling, it was just... not having it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, fair enough. Who is, and obviously it can be someone in your circle, or it can be anyone, right? Is there anyone that inspires you in Muay Thai? I guess it can inspire you not just in Muay Thai, but it can inspire your training or your work ethic. But yeah, who is it that inspires you?
Oh, that's a really good question. It's a really good question, that one. I think just all the ties that we have at our gyms. I obviously know a lot of them on a personal level as well, but just seeing how hard they work. So sorry. Just seeing how hard they work and their humility and everything that they do for their families, and it's very inspiring to see. You know, for us it's a bit of a hobby, but for them it's their life. So yeah, that's very inspiring. All our coaches,
So it's like more like what they do and what they're willing to do for their family and why they do Muay Thai, and that's what kind of inspires you.
Yeah, 100%.
Oh, perfect. If you could go...
So sorry.
Dude, it is totally okay. It's totally okay. Yeah, that's why we got the water. If you could... it could be someone from the past or someone in the present. If there's anyone that you could either get coached by or train with, you know, who would it be?
Oh, that's another great question. Maybe someone from the golden era. I'm a big fan of Karawat.
Carl, I haven't heard of him.
Yeah, he's a really technical fighter, and he was in the golden era. He's still alive now, but I'd love to train with him for sure.
Yeah, yeah. Do you know what gym he coaches out of?
No, I don't actually. That's a good question.
Maybe when you go to, I mean, unless you go to obviously one of the sister gyms, maybe you can look up where he coaches, and I'm sure he coaches because basically for most of the Thais, like once they're done, that's pretty much all they do is just coaching. Yeah, that'd be interesting. So what kind of fighter was he? Was he more of like Muay Thai? Was he more of a heavy
like
striker?
An aggressive Muay Thai, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot of elbows.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry.
It's all right. Call it Matt Deisel, the sick edition, the coughing. People are going to think you have COVID or something.
Oh, maybe. Yeah. Coughing a lot, eh?
Yeah. What is something that you've implemented that has, like, whether it's for recovery or performance, or is there anything that you've implemented, say, in the last year or two in your training or, like I said, recovery that has made, like, a huge improvement and that you would highly recommend to someone else, especially if they're, like, starting off?
There's been a lot. I do a lot of research. I'm a bit of a nerd when it comes to it, and we're so blessed these days. We have so much information.
Yes, man.
But I think heat acclimation has been a great one, especially for weight cutting. So I do a lot of saunas.
Yes.
And that helps tremendously with the weight cut. At the end of the weight cut.
Because obviously you're used to, like I said, your body's acclimated to doing those long sauna rounds, so that when it comes to cutting weight, it's your body's not so freaking out.
Easier. Yeah, definitely. But there's a lot I do. I do the ice bars. I've dabble with some supplements, ashwagandha, CBD. There's a whole bunch of good stuff out there. I think it's all very personal what works for everyone. But there's a lot of information out there. So
yeah, and out of those things, like if you could pick one of those things to get the most bang for your buck, what would it be? Would it be the sauna? Would it be some of the supplements? What would it be?
Probably on the recovery side, just good diet and sleep. I think are probably the best. You know, take everything out of it. It's just diet and sleep. The more sleep you get, and the more time you get to recover. Yeah, those two things are probably the best things. You
got to have those things down first before you add anything else.
Definitely.
Yeah. Did you say you do saunas? Have you ever done any like the cold plunges or the ice baths?
Yeah. I go to Raw around the corner, and they got both of those. So that's really good as well.
Yeah, that's where you bumped into each other, right? Yeah. So you use that's where you do your sauna and you do your cold plunge there. Awesome. Yeah, hopefully I get to see you because I'm also jumping there doing it. So I'll bump into you and both do it at the same time. Because, it's not fun, man, when you're in that cold plunge, like...
It's pretty cold.
Yeah. But I take like, mental training. I'm there. I'm I think, like, around in the fight. You know, you're around the fight. You got to be able to stay there. You got to stay strong mentally. Definitely. It's good mental training.
Yeah.
Is there anything outside of Muay Thai that you are maybe not as equally passionate about or maybe more? But, is there something else outside of Muay Thai that you're very passionate about?
I would say music. And it probably goes a bit deep, but, like, straight edge music. So... it's like a type of hardcore punk.
Straight, and I've never heard that.
Excuse me. So for the last almost 10 years of my life now, I've been straight edge, which is no drinking, no drugs, and no smoking.
Oh, so the music is about that? Is that what you're saying? Or it doesn't have that in the
sort
music?
of like a subculture.
Straight edge, so straight edge punk? Is that what you said?
Yeah. So it's like a type of punk or like hardcore punk music, and it's sort of it's sort of built around those things, not drinking, not smoking, not doing drugs, and like sort of being the best version of yourself that you can be.
I love that. I really love that. So what made you make that, I guess, I don't know if it was a transition, if you were not straight edge before that, but what kind of put you down that path?
It was definitely a transition because I used to be a little bit of a naughty kid and got into a lot of trouble, and there was just a turning point in my life where I was like, someone's got to give. So ended up 10 years ago. Yeah, just about 10 years ago, I made that decision.
Yeah, but was it like an event or what helped make that transition?
Well, I used to go to a lot of there's not so much straight edge music in Perth. In over the world there is a lot in America, but just listening to a lot of music with those values and going to some local shows and stuff like that helped me make that choice and stay to that choice because it's not an easy thing to adhere to it at times.
Right. So was it something that was introduced to you, like, hey, listen to this group, they're straight edge, something you found by mistake?
Not by mistake. I've always liked really heavy music and going to concerts and stage diving and doing that sort of thing. Yeah. So sort of stumbled on it a little bit through that, but yeah.
And what do you think it was that attracted you to that, I guess, more wholesome type of music? Was it just that you listened to I like what these values, like what they're singing about? Or
yeah, I didn't know there was anyone that could do all that sort of stuff, or there's a bunch of people that could still go to shows and have a good time and run amok, jumping off the stage and dancing and not be drunk or high.
Right. Right. So, okay, my bad. I think maybe I misunderstood. So is it that in the shows there's not like basically they expect that you're not drunk, or is it the music? The music, it's also in the music as well.
Yeah, it's in the music, but it's not like if you go to a straight edge show you can't. But yeah, it's just those values in that music. Yeah,
that'd be pretty funny though if you're a big fan of straight edge and you're going to a show drunk or something. It'd be a little bit, a bit strange.
Yeah. No, a little bit, but it's punk's a big community, so
true.
Yeah.
Just waited for that one.
Thank you.
What is your life motto?
Oh, you're full of good questions today. I don't know if I have a life motto. Maybe just to be or to try and be the best that you can be. And
Yeah.
sort of have some sort of a positive impact on people and things around you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that. The one that I heard a friend told me as a kid and I always liked was like, one day when your life flashes before your eyes, make sure it's worth watching.
Yeah, that's a cool
so
one.
corny,
Like
but you know.
Yeah, nah, but a lot of them are. The cringy ones are. Yeah, there's some truth to it for sure.
I like that, yeah. I saw, and this is a totally stolen question. I saw this one on I think I was scrolling through on Instagram, whatever, and I saw this on a reel. I was like, I've got to ask my next guest this question because it's just so good. Yeah, lucky you. If you could stop any crime in the world, right? But the only way to stop it is you have to commit it. What would it be? And the guest on that show had such a cool answer. I'll share it after. But
I know the answer. I think.
Do you see that?
I would have to agree with his answer. What was it? Lying in court, so nobody could.
Perjury.
Lie in court.
Yeah.
I would agree with that because it was a hard question.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah, that's a great one. That's a great answer.
Yeah.
I never would have thought about that in a million years.
It's like, did they give him the question beforehand? Because like to think of like an answer like that on the spot
it was quick as well, wasn't it?
Yeah. Okay, let's say you take that one off. What else would you?
Oh man, it's a really good question. Crime. I got nothing.
That's a hard one, man. And it's like there's no winning because it's like if you want to go for the big ones, it's like basically you got to commit this really atrocious crime, and the small ones are almost like it's like not that noble, you know. So yeah, that's probably the best answer. I don't think you're gonna get a better answer than that.
I don't think so.
Fair enough.
He nailed it.
Yeah. What do you feel like is the meaning of life?
I sort of had a little bit of time to prep for this because I watched Jaden's one.
I think people are starting to catch on now.
I didn't get to see the end, so I don't know if there's any more questions, but you've had some good ones so far. I don't know if there is a meaning of life, and it would be really hard to answer that. But I think sort of what I said before is just trying to be the best version of yourself and having a positive impact on people around you and the environments around you. I think maybe not the meaning, but the point of life is to try and be the best version of yourself that you can be and have a positive impact. And I think that those two are sort of synonymous in the way that if you are trying to be the best version of yourself, then you're going to have a positive impact on those around you and the environment around you. So I think the sort of two cross over.
So yeah. Not to push back on a little bit, but just to dig a bit deeper, why do you feel that it's important to have a positive impact on things around you? Why is it important to be the best you can be?
Just because you can have so much impact on those around you, and I know that from the people around me as well. And it's just like if you could have a positive impact on anybody, why wouldn't you? I think through coaching you can have such a positive, especially with kids. Like I've been finding with kids when you're teaching kids, that's the most fulfilling thing I've ever done in my life, and seeing them make good choices as a young adult or as a really young kid, and that for me is just too good to pass up. If you could have a positive impact on anyone, someone might be having a shit day or whatever, and if you can have an impact on that person, I think that's what life's about.
Yeah,
sure.
I love that. Now, thank you for bringing up coaching kids, because I didn't think about asking any of these. What do you obviously, like you said, there's a lot of reward in coaching kids and getting to see the development. It's so great, and seeing them grow up. And like I said, if you've been a positive influence as well, then that's even better. But what are some of your peeves or your pet peeves when it comes to coaching kids?
Oh, pet peeves would just have to be parents bringing their kids down when they're sick.
Oh yeah, get everyone sick.
Because they got no hygiene. Kids don't have any hygiene. Speaking of, I don't think I have any other peeves apart from that.
Do you ever find it frustrating, and it comes with it, right? Like when you're coaching adults, they want to be there. Yeah. They come because it's their own decision. But a lot of times you get kids, you got the kids that love it and it's awesome. You love coaching them because they want to be there, they want to learn. And you got other kids where their parents see the value in it, but they themselves don't care. So you can show them 100 times. Yeah. On the inside, they don't really care enough to even try. Yeah. Do you ever find that frustrating when, you see how well this kid can do? Even they might even be naturally talented, but they just don't care. Do you ever come across that?
You come across it a lot, but I wouldn't say it's frustrating. It's just, I suppose it's your job to give them what they need in those classes. But I think your energy's better spent with the ones that do want to. And there is, for
care.
every kid that doesn't want to do it, there's a kid that loves it. And for example, at the end of the classes, especially the small kids, I let them play a game for the last 5 minutes.
Yeah.
If they're well behaved. And I always tell the kids, if you don't want to play a game, if you want to keep hitting pads, and every couple of days I'll get a kid say, I don't want to play the game, I'd rather hit pads with you.
Wow.
And so I let the other kids go play a game.
So you do like one-on-one with a kid on the pads?
For the last 5 minutes, and every second day you'll get a kid that says, I don't want to play the game, I'd rather hit pads with you.
Right. But you only have one spot for, like, because obviously you can only hold kid for one.
If there was 5 of them, I'd hold pads, just for a minute at a time or something. There's never 5 kids that don't want to play the game.
Yeah.
There's normally only
it's probably
one or
pretty
two.
rare. Yeah.
But yeah, so for every kid that doesn't want to do it, you got a kid like that would rather hit pads with you than play games, which is really good.
That's beautiful, man. Yeah. I like that. I love it when they love it. You know?
100%.
So it's really good. Now, anyone that wants to, I guess, follow your journey and follow you in your fights, what's the best way for them to do? Is it Facebook? Is it Instagram? How do they find you?
I post a lot on Instagram. I post a lot on Instagram, not so much on Facebook, but I do post a lot on Instagram.
Yeah. Is it just Matt Deisel, or how do they find you?
I think that's what it is. And you know what it is? It's Matty D with 9 E's.
Matty D with 9 E's.
For anyone listening, 9 E's, yeah. Matty D was taken. Matty D-E-E was taken. So it's Matty D with 9 E's.
So did you have to do it all the way to 9? Like, wait, let me try.
That's exactly how it worked out. So Matty D with 9 E's on Instagram. Chuck us a follow and I'll follow you back.
Oh, man.
Just come down to a show.
Yeah, come down, watch you fight, and you don't have anything booked in the next while. When do you think you'll jump in the ring next?
Definitely before the end of the year.
Yeah.
Definitely before the end of the year. I'd like to, but we'll see how that pans out.
Yeah.
See if there's anyone out there.
I look forward to it, man. And thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you very much for having us.
My pleasure.